Fans awaited the return of Russell T Davies to save the show. The mythology was in disarray, core ethics and traits of the character were in shambles, and ratings and viewership were in free fall. So far, his return has been a bit of a mixed bag. The announcement of Shruti Gatwa as the next Doctor, a race reassignment, was not ideal given that the first deviation from the norm, a sex change, still remained unexplained and unsuccessful. Still, Shruti sounded very serious about the role. He could smile and be goofy. This was already looking up. Yeah, that's how low expectations are at this point. Russell T Davies is a proven showrunner. If the show fails, it won't be because of Shruti. That much I'm certain of. And then woke started echoing among fan reactions. Russell T Davies assured us that he hadn't cast for diversity, but for the best actor. Do I believe it? Eh, there is no doubt that RTD has revolutionized the portrayal of LGBT characters. He has also cast several black characters during his previous run, but his treatment of black characters has been far from ideal. While there is no overt discrimination, his black characters rarely get their wish, so to say. For example, Mickey Smith, introduced as a cowardly clown who loses his white girlfriend to the white doctor. He left the universe twice, knowing that the Rose wanted the doctor and not him.
I'm the tin dog.
Martha Jones, kissed non consensually by the doctor without any attraction for her. She loves the doctor, saves the world, saves the doctor, but he doesn't return her feelings.
Arthur Jones, you saved the world.
I can't do this anymore. So this is me. Getting out.
Martha's family is shown as dysfunctional, undignified, and they spend a year as the master's slaves. So Russell T Davies coming up with a black doctor is already, an evolution from the past, so to say. This is not intended as criticism. Every person with any achievement relevant to human rights has areas of focus and blind spots. Nobody can focus on everything, and it doesn't diminish their achievements, which in RTD's case are considerable. This also applies to fans. Words like racism and sexism get thrown around, but they imply intentional discrimination, which is not evident in anyone related to the show. Not the showrunner, not the fan. What would regressive people do in the Doctor Who fandom? Hide among fans as sleeper agents enjoying progressive content and waiting to be activated after 50 years? No. What would they do? The future may be here, but the past doesn't go away. Good sci fi doesn't move on, it maintains continuity. The tag for the show has always had classic Who, previous Doctors, fan art, animated films, companions, quotes, scenes, books, audios of previous Doctors. New developments must make sense, or a large chunk of people will go, no, that's what happened with Jodie Whittaker. Think of it as casting David Tennant as Superman. Much as I adore him, he is skinny. If someone asks, where are the muscles? It's not toxic masculinity. Superman is supposed to have muscles, and David Tennant doesn't. I mean, not the Superman kind of muscles. It's no use saying Kryptonians can be skinny or obese or point out to skinny Kryptonians. Sure, there can be skinny Kryptonians. Superman is not. Similarly, other Time Lords may have sex and race reassignment regenerations. But the Doctor hasn't deviated from white male in 50 years of the show, 13 regenerations, and billions of years of his age. Are all Time Lords established to be transsexual?
I think not.
How often do they fluctuate? Do they sort of go to a preferred sex and park themselves there? Do they keep changing? Does it vary from Time Lord to Time Lord? None of it is explained or established. Why it would apply to the Doctor now when it hasn't been so long also hasn't been explained. But the Time Lords are minor characters. Getting away with illogical transformation in minor characters does not justify an illogical lead character. Anyone is not a character. You have to script how and why it happened. What are the parameters of that change? This is not sexism or racism, it is storytelling necessity. Like the war doctor. John Hurt is not a woman, he's a white man. But the need for his existence is explained as to why he was disowned. Why didn't we know about him? He was introduced. That space of his, where did he come in the timeline? How was he created? Why does he deviate from the doctor character? So it's not sexist to want to know this. Why would we wouldn't be sexist to the white man, right? If a character went into the toilet with a black jacket and came out with a blue one, it isn't fashion police to demand an explanation. It is storytelling police. If your always white male doctor regenerates into a woman, it isn't sexism to require an explanation instead of magic wandism. If you expect fans to accept whatever they are shown, there is no winning this fight. Everybody loses. And now, with the previous illogical change still doing damage, we have a new black doctor adding a new front of change. So, first we could change sex, now we can change race, skin color. At this point, you don't have a character at all. What you have is a random trait generator. The only option left is to bring back a previous doctor. Someone like David Tennant should be cast as the next doctor so that he can re-establish the character and tidy up the story and get some facts in place and remove crap like the timeless children. With the casting of David Tennant and Catherine Tate for the 60th anniversary and before Shruti Gatwa's era starts, it's looking like this could be a possibility. Even if it is to establish that diverse regenerations are now a thing, but it has to be established. There is nothing in the script to back it so far. It needs to happen, or the diverse regenerations will continue to fail. Before the announcement of David Tennant's return, fans were split, with some accusing RTD of woke and political agendas and refusing to accept Shruti, while others accused them of racism, sexism, homophobia, and so on. I'm seeing political polarization divide a shrinking fandom. It has nothing to do with ideology or prejudice. It is simply disliking crappy revisionist storytelling. If the accusations were true, every criticism would have been plastered with reminders to cancel your TV license. Instead, it is Russell T Davies asking people to vote against the government. Critics are sticking to the word of the show, apart from angry reactions to the politics. Nobody is going go Tories, vote for Tory. Nothing of that sort is happening. So where are the sexist and racist fans coming from? Nowhere. They don't exist. They're coming from the imagination of the activists, or rather from the Pavlovian style of defending an identity by attaching labels rather than reasoning. When your only tool is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. Sure, when I say activists, I mean people habituated to human rights commentary on social media. It is a very specific style of communication and groupthink, which is now being applied to sci-fi. Most of the NMDs are people who say not my doctor, who basically don't like the doctor. Most of the NMDs defended the very gay John Barrowman against allegations of sexual harassment. If NMDs were homophobic, why did they defend him? They should have just thrown him under the bus. For example, Nerdrotic made the video of top 5 murdered franchises, where he gives the first place to Doctor Who. I suppose you could call him NMD of the highest order. He hosted this chat, taking a sensitive and nuanced view of the allegations and accusations around John Barrowman.
Does a thing at Comic-Con every year when we had Comic-Con called Goes with John Barrowman, and it's kind of like that. I mean, I don't he wasn't whipping it out, but practically. So this is something he's done forever, and again, the ladies didn't seem to have a problem with it. Now, I don't know if they really did and they were trying to be nice back then. Who knows?
Industry. It's not a corporate environment. It's not one of those things where everyone's sort of, at least it used to not be this way, where people are just sort of really hemmed in, especially when you're talking about gay men.
If all these people were homophobic, this chat would have sounded very different. You can go and listen to it. There is no homophobia going on. Russell T. Davies, an openly gay man, was eagerly awaited by critics to save the show from Chibnall, who I assume is a straight man. Rather strange for homophobic people, no? Nor are all critics white males. One of the best videos explaining the problem with appropriating existing characters is by Baggage Claim.
How about this scene from Doctor Who, where an MI6 official assumes the Doctor is a man? A fair assumption since the Doctor has been a man for many decades. Does the female Doctor handle it with grace, with maturity, and earn the respect of her audience as well as everyone around her?
I've had an upgrade. Hi.
Really? Really? Did you really need to put down every man that has come before you? Why do they need to kneel down for you to stand up?
An excellent 5-hour critique of the first 2 seasons of the Chibnall era is by JXP, who goes through considerable effort to explain the process of character development.
Collarbones. Oh, you've all got them. DNA bombs. On detonation, they disrupt the foundation of your genetic code, melting your DNA.
The group of the Dr. Graham, Grace, Yaz, and Ryan all discover that they've got these DNA bombs implanted into their collarbones. They could be panicked, skeptical, anxious, confident, caring, or angry. If these people have character traits, they will have an observable reaction in this situation. Their lives are in danger. Here's the entirety of the reaction they give to the situation.
How did we get them? They're gonna go off.
How did we get them? Are they gonna go off? Then the doctor says,
Quiet, I'm trying to think.
so they do as they're told and stand entirely still, not reacting to any of this for the next 45 seconds.
Appropriating superheroes is not a human rights issue. This should not be so hard to understand. You wouldn't support a powerful woman in the real world if you believed her to simply be acting as a proxy for some man. The problem with activism is not the goals, but the methods and the cost. It is the assumption that people disagreeing are doing it to inflict injustice and couldn't possibly have an insightful perspective or objective beyond perpetrating injustice. It isn't enough to arbitrarily make the doctor a woman. A manifestation is a correction of the existing culture, an upgrade. She has to be the feminist triumph over a white male culture. She has to be their origin story so that every beloved male doctor is corrected to a transsexual male doctor. If the doctor had simply been a woman and the change had been explained in the story and well portrayed, it would be like any evolution in the story. Some would agree, others would dislike, most would get over it, a few would drop off, the usual. The most successful way would have been to create a multiverse. It would be more shows, more content, and fans frustrated with long gaps would have appreciated it. After Jodie Whittaker in Timeless Children, I doubt much of the audience will be tolerant of a doctor who isn't the original white male character. Because now diversity is appropriative and disrespectful of the history of the show. It's not merely a matter of introducing a new change. It is also a matter of healing the trauma from a completely insensitive change. Given the euphoria on social media, I have no doubt the return of David Tennant and Catherine Tate will be very successful. But unless Timeless Children is reversed, many fans will leave with them. When you retrospectively make the doctors transsexual, say they didn't even come from the planet they grew, when you tamper with the history of the show, it is game over. It isn't the fans, the show erased itself. It altered the meaning of countless events in bad ways. Every previous conversation about Gallifrey, the doctor's beloved home planet, is now basically a roofied victim longing for the scene of his abuse. The lovely romances that tugged our hearts are now deceptive, with the doctor never revealing to the woman that he was a female in the past, including the queen, whom he married. Countless people who have been deceived in intimate relationships are likely to find this ugly rather than exciting. This is the sort of thing you disclose before a romance. It was too late for this character to change his past sex, no matter what the future held. Every time the doctor claims to understand time, hear it all in his head, no fixed points, and so on, the timeless torpedo is laughing. When the doctor goes, I am a time lord, I am from Caliphate. No, you aren't. You are a timeless child from another dimension. You don't even know your own past, never mind the entire universe's past, present, and future.
You know you're not going to break anything. You want to leave the toys for them. You're in the sandbox and you're playing with the toys that somebody left for you, but you're not going to break the toys.
Also, diversity sounds virtuous, but every new casting risks splitting the fandom further. For example, once the excitement of trending identities is gone, how many viewers will be interested in an Asian dog? Would the remaining fans be interested in fighting Islamophobia with a doctor in a skull cap and a hijab? Eid specials instead of Christmas? The problem with representing an identity with one role is that each time you choose, there is an infinite number of identities you don't choose to represent. The minute you start a merry-go-round of niches, you shuffle your audience. After the run of the Black Doctor, how long will people who enjoy black leads have to wait until they see another? Why would they stick around to view the Chinese? I'm well aware that people don't only see their own identity. After all, I watched the show because of David Tennant, and I'm not male, Scottish, or pencil thin. But we all have types. Viewers in the US had a problem with Jodie's accent initially. People who enjoy black leads may not enjoy Asian ones. Muslims and LGBT will definitely have compatibility issues with each other. Your widely loved doctor will turn into a flavor of the season, with some people watching it, some people not watching it, depending on what identity is represented. And basically, from one entire fandom celebrating one entire continuity of a show, you will have, small sections of different doctors representing different things. Out of 100 shows, if a person watches 10, he isn't prejudiced against the 90. If he finds another 10 stupid, he isn't prejudiced against the actors or their identities. The simple fact is that the shows failed to be compelling, and Doctor Who is increasingly among those ranks. With such narrow thinking, the show is reducing itself from a broad appeal to an ever-changing niche, without even able to build a long-term audience for any niche. The White Doctor was a character with wide appeal. There was never a need for him to become an issue of representation by skin, sex, age, race, accent, and so on. Right now, what you have is a character randomizer. Why? None of this represents me, but it used to be fun. Why is the character white and male? Because that was what the writers decided, and it's fine. It has to be some character. That is it. The character worked, it was successful, it continued for so long. Why break it? But the bigger problem in the fandom right now is the toxicity. Jodie Whittaker's announcement came with her urging fans to not be afraid of her gender. However she performed in the role, if you didn't like it, you were scared of her gender. The dog whistle worked. Anybody going, wait a minute, why is the doctor a woman? It was sexist. Then controversy baits decent people into Pavlovian endorsement of the show against the prejudice of its horrible fans. It will result in glowing media coverage, but doesn't seem to be translating to viewers. The more the toxicity, the worse the viewership. Just to be clear, controversies among fans are not an accident. Right now, there's a myth among fans that every new doctor gets a backlash. Countless people have pointed out this example, that David Tennant faced criticism as well.
Do you know, whenever the Doctor changes, there's a backlash, because that's a character that people love.
Flash for you.
Oh, sure. They're like, who's the Weasley-looking guy? Who's this? I like the last guy. This is not going to work for me. This show is dead to me. I resign from the internet. Send.
Calling David Tennant a weasel or worse wouldn't result in character judgment and a toxic split in the fandom. Maybe today, if you call him a weasel, you may get a dozen replies correcting you that actually he's a fennec fox. That's because Tennant communicates from a place of goodwill and excitement and taking people along.
The Doctor can be whatever he needs to be. I could be the Doctor. Turned out I was. The geeks have inherited the Earth.
He's excited about his work and eager for people to see it, instead of the drama being about him. This video, for example, has Jodie Whittaker responding to Twitter comments after she was announced in a clip, but before a single episode has aired.
It's going to be shit. I'm officially done. Bye, Doctor Who. All right. Gutted you've sold out to the PC squad, and I'm female. Mortal, time-travelling, regenerating alien, played by a woman. It just isn't realistic. Lots of folks who never cared about Doctor Who before are suddenly very concerned. Maybe we should announce that climate change is a woman. Fair point. Jamie Gillespie has added a lot of red angry faces. You've ruined it. You haven't even seen me do it yet. For each sexist bigot threatening not to watch, there'll be a young girl with a new hero they didn't have before. Hashtag good riddance. Hashtag Dr. 13. Sam, who is at, have a better name, Sam, on Twitter. I can't even say it. He said ruined. I hope we hang out sometime.
This is David Tennant in a similar situation after he was shown as a doctor in the regeneration scene, but without his episodes having aired.
Are you excited about this?
I'm very excited about it, yeah. It's a bit daunting, you know, taking on this kind of well-loved character and all that. It's sort of...
I've read that you used to dream, when you were little, you used to dream about being Doctor Who. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, but everyone at my age did, I think. You know, we all grew up absolutely loving it.
I think he's going to be great as Doctor Who. I'm really looking forward to it. And you've got the Cybermen coming up, haven't you?
We've got the Cybermen coming back, yeah.
I love the Cybermen.
Yeah,
Who else? You got any other oldies coming back? Any old villains?
We've got K9 coming back.
Oh, he's great. I'm not sure about that. Is that a good idea?
It's a very good idea.
Have they given us a streamlined K9, or is it the same one, which
No,
was basically
he's
a
old
cardboard
and-
box painted silver?
He's old and battered and rusty and hanging together with...
The difference is the approach to promotion. Publicity for entertainment was about charming people, being humble. We made this fantastic show. Do watch. Oh, yes, it's great. You're going to love it. He still talks like that. It's adorable to listen to him.
It's a lovely thing to be associated with because people love it. And people of all generations love it. And even people that don't know it love it. People who've never seen the show know they're supposed to love it, so they just love it. It's impossible to hate Doctor Who. It's full of sort of love, and it's expansive, and it's embracing the universe. I often say the first line of my obituary has been written, but what a first line! That's great.
This is the loss. No doctor after Jodie is going to be able to claim such universal affection, because the current style of publicity ensures that at any given time, there is a chunk of the fandom objecting while the rest are blaming them. There is always a split now. It's been 5 years. For a brief period, when David Tennant's return to the show was announced, the sheer euphoria on social media was something that felt like a boulder had been taken off our heads. The sheer lightness, the joy, the quotes, the photos, people were happy. Tremendous euphoria. All controversies were forgotten. The beloved Doctor was coming back. And Donna Noble. And then the new announcement brought things back to normal. The overt insertion of activism and politics into the culture around the show has ensured that the Doctor is now endlessly controversial. That universal relatability and goodwill that ironically the White Doctor had is now about a toxic fandom divided by identities, ostensibly in the name of representing everyone. Those dismayed by this toxicity hope that the return of Russell T Davies might mean a return to the previous culture of the show. It's not looking like it. The announcement ensures the continuation of the toxicity with woke words and representation and so on. Russell T Davies would hardly be unaware of the situation with the show. Avoiding words guaranteed to divide fans would have been simple. And to be honest, it would be expected if the intention is to save the show. It was a dog whistle. The thing with living in a country persecuting its minorities is that you become hypersensitive to dog whistles because they're happening all the time and lives are at stake. So you hear someone talking like that. What is a dog whistle? A dog whistle is an ultrasonic whistle that dogs can hear but not humans. So the dogs hear it and they react, but humans don't realize there's anything different. It's also a style of political communication that uses subtext that alters or add meanings in ways that will only be understood by specific audiences. When used to provoke, it has the additional advantage of making people who get provoked look unreasonable because a larger audience doesn't see anything. When specific words used in objections by critics are endorsed in a speech, it sends a very clear message that the complaints have been heard and what they want is not going to happen. That is why the critics, the not my doctor, the rip doctor who hashtag, all these people, that's why they are angry. The rest of the public hears an optimistic announcement that reassures on quality of the casting and values diversity without compromising quality. But actually, the next conflict in the fandom is already seeded. Russell T. Davies also used the opportunity to campaign against the government. It led to several comments by fans of Shruti Gatwa that his casting would frustrate the Tories. Hardly any of the critics cared about the Tories. Russell T. Davies also used the opportunity to campaign against the government. It led to several comments by fans of Shruti Gatwa that his casting would frustrate the Tories. Hardly any of the critics cared about the Tories. It was the real world politics lashing out at the usual suspects and missing by a mile. Instead, angry fans picked up on the messaging and ranted about Russell T. Davies misusing the show funded by mandatory TV licenses to influence electoral politics, which actually would be a fair objection if he did it on the show. He didn't do it on the show. It was an interview. And I don't think he will do it on the show. He loves the show. Think about it. Why would Tories have a problem with the casting of Shruti? If they are anything like their counterparts here, they love it. They couldn't have invented the shit. RTD provided them with the perfect propaganda. Look, even your cultural icons aren't safe from them. Send them home. Ordinary folks who wouldn't be bothered with politics or care about refugees one way or the other, or don't even watch the show, will definitely notice a non-white doctor as a sign of changing culture. There is simply no way people think, look, the doctor is a Rwandan migrant himself. These are our people. We can give them a better life. That is not going to happen. Not because I don't want it to. I mean, I'm great if they aren't sent back. But because humanity is overwhelmingly indifferent to the plight of others. They do not like losing their cultural domination. No matter how liberal, how leftist, how democratic, how kind-hearted people are, the vast majority of the people never ever like losing cultural domination. Shruti Gatwa is being the doctor is not the way to convince them that their culture is safe from the migrants. If it was about saving the show, it would have been simple to make the announcement to not speak about anything irrelevant to the show and let Shruti win over fans with his acting, if indeed that was why he was cast. That's how the change to a younger doctor than the more romantic doctor was handed in rapid succession. No reason it wouldn't work for a black doctor. Even better would be to cast a white male doctor, fix the mess made of the show, then cast a vulnerable identity after establishing a proper premise for the regeneration. So that they would be accepted better, the chances of success improve. Chibnall wrote the first female doctor recklessly, but it is Jodie suffering the backlash because she is the face of that failure. Sure, the role was outside her ability and she should have prepared better and put in more effort. But the biggest failure of her era, The Time with Children, is solidly written by Chibnall. It is not her doing. Similarly, Shruti will be the face of how RTD handles this, whether it is his fault or not. This should be cause for caution if we really care about Black people. Instead, they are baiting the fandom into new polarization. Do you really think this is professional behavior for a powerful boss and someone he hires for a child friendly show? Ignore the homophobia bait. If it was Jodhi or Mandeep, would it be appropriate behavior? My first thought when I saw this was a Me Too scandal with John Barrowman. I doubt anybody would disagree that the behavior at that time was at a minimum inappropriate. Russell T Davies was the showrunner then. If this is his behavior with a cast member in front of media, who knows what happens on his sets without scrutiny? But hang on, it is bait. I doubt Russell T Davies of It's a Sin and Shruti Gatwa of Sex Education had no idea what this costume or body language looked like. Already upset fans will react. They can be called homophobic and racist to keep the casting discussed endlessly. It is a Jodhi rerun. These dog whistles work. Homophobic and racist immediately became the accusations of the hour. Even though Shruti Gatwa has never disclosed her sexuality, and I doubt anybody cares beyond relevance to the role. Sci-fi isn't some orthodox religious cult. It's like a Pavlovian API for insults. By design. We have so much of this cynical polarization to manipulate people in India that the British version makes me want to go amateurs. But it is always repulsive, this dehumanization of people to trigger endless debate. The sheer hatred between inconsequential rats in a maze as they shred each other, imagining they are saving the world. This is what I was looking to escape when I watched the show. On the plus side, there may be more layers to this. Russell T Davies is political. Him using the argument as a giant middle finger as well as a distraction is a possibility. He already admitted to planting red herrings. Also, unlike David Tennant, where shooting in public would mean leaks, so the announcement was necessary. Shruti doesn't begin filming till much later, so there was no hurry to announce it, which makes it more likely that his announcement was a red herring. Not that he isn't a doctor, he may be, but announcing him early possibly distracted from other things fans could spot or help mislead people. I don't know. It may well turn out to be that Russell T Davies used this announcement to make a few political points, even possibly bait people into homophobia to teach them a lesson as well as to give a dramatic boost to the announcements to follow. You know, after people are feeling all hopeless and raging back, and suddenly you get David Tennant's back. Yay! So that could be why it was, I don't know. But the baiting continues. Black transgender Yasmin Finney has been cast to play a character called Rose. It is unknown whether this is Rose Tyler, but given Russell T Davies' history with the name Rose, it wouldn't be surprising if she were a love interest for the doctor regardless. Again, announcing the casting of Yasmin is one thing, but her name being Rose is likely to infuriate fans who otherwise wouldn't care about a transgender person being a companion or any other character. Again, this will appear to be racism and transphobia, when in reality it is that special place Rose holds in the hearts of the fandom. A place RTD himself has carved meticulously and apparently now seems to be handing over to someone else. I'm always keen to watch David Tennant in any role. I was so repulsed by this that I may not watch the 60th anniversary special at all. I don't want my last memory of Tennant on Doctor Who to be with a different Rose. It's that simple. It's very likely that once the show begins to air, he'll be back to putting the show first, and the scripting will address the problem so well that everybody angry now will look foolish then. I hope I look foolish then, because I would love for the show to become good again. For the sake of the show, I really hope that happens, but I'm not seeing it right now. It's difficult to predict, but as things stand, there doesn't seem to be room for optimism. I also feel rather bad for Jodie. The hostility that this will add to the fandom is no fault of hers. On the other hand, who knows? It may just have brutalized fans thinking that she wasn't as bad as what is to come and end up, giving her a sympathetic farewell. I hope that happens. No matter how inclusive the intention, everybody has preferences. My idea of diversity is more the Legends of Tomorrow style rom rather than appropriating existing characters. That show does it all: time travels, monsters, diversity, female lesbian lead. It has Muslims, it has everything. And it has the gorgeous John Constantine, intelligent eye candy. I am happy. The face Doctor Who is in feels uncomfortable to me. It is one thing to replace a bad character. Displacing the nerdy doctor doesn't feel right. For others, that is exactly what makes it work for them. They want iconic characters to no longer have identities associated with privilege. It's it's like the best toy is the one that is snatched from your adversary's hand, not the one on the shelf. For me, the doctor is privileged. He is powerful, immortal, has a time machine with endless real estate inside, and is the ultimate adventure tourist. The doctor will always stand for privilege. Cast a black man, and it is a privileged black man. Cast a woman, she is a privileged woman. The doctor never represents the marginalized. It is like Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. Most black people are never going to get away with that. Giving Will Smith an award does nothing for regular black folks. Only a good show is tarnished. Everybody doesn't have to go along with every show. For a long time, the series has had points where new viewers can hop on. Perhaps it might be interesting to create farewell points as well, so that people not interested in the next phase can part ways with joy and closure rather than a sense of violation and betrayal. The whole debate around the Doctor Who show has the same feeling as fighting deforestation. Ancient trees are cut down. The whole debate around the Doctor Who show has the same feeling as fighting deforestation. The powers that be think that it's a great idea, progress will happen. They will plant saplings to replace ancient trees, not to worry. All that you can feel is disgust.